I just recently finished Devil May Cry 5, and it got me asking a really interesting question. Should there be a Devil May Cry 6? Now, the immediate response most fans would have is yes. The franchise as a whole is doing great, the gameplay is top notch, the characters and their stories are fantastic, but I would like to share a different opinion. I don't think there should be another numbered entry in this series. There can be spin-offs, side games, and all manner of other supplementary material, but in terms of a main entry, I think it should end here. Now, going into this video, I'm going to assume that you have played Devil May Cry 5 and know how it ends. If you don't, go play the game and experience this incredible story for yourself. I cannot recommend it enough. The ending of DMC5 is, as we all hopefully know, Nero learning of his new family and unlocking his full Devil Trigger form, bringing an end to the fight between Dante and Virgil, before those two trap themselves in the underworld, leaving Nero as the world's sole Devil Hunter. This is a fantastic end to the story of all three of these characters. Nero finally coming into his own instead of being the Dante stand-in from 4 and finally discovering who his family is a fantastic end to the arc that began in that game. Dante and Virgil finally for once putting their differences aside to reach a common goal is such a cathartic contrast to the ending of 3 where the two of them couldn't put their differences aside. I feel like these endings are natural conclusions to these characters' stories and I don't actually know where you could take them from here. Any sort of prequel would risk undercutting the mystery of having large gaps in the timeline that fans can speculate about and keep the conversation alive, and also wouldn't be satisfying to play through since we know how these character arcs conclude, so there's no tension in that story. The only thing I can think of would be to do a side game about Lady, Trish, and characters of a similar vein that could be explored in more depth, but then the problem arises of these characters being inherently different from Dante, Virgil and Nero from a gameplay perspective, so the combat system would need a complete rework, and then, is it even really a DMC game anymore? I also worry that DMC5 was so incredible as a gameplay experience with the mechanics blasting on full throttle that a 6th game might be disappointing in comparison, because how far can you push these systems into being complex and interesting for veterans before you're unable to bring in newcomers because the learning curve becomes far too steep? Essentially, I believe that DMC5 should be the last in the series and end on the incredibly satisfying note that it did, instead of being dragged out until they stop making them because they're shit. But that's just my opinion, and do feel free to leave your own opinion down in the comments below, and tell me whether or not you think DMC6 should be a thing. I hope you all enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time. Bye.
Don't you dare say it's jackpot!